is up? This is DreenoBeatz, and in this video we're going to be deconstructing how Still Runnin by Lil Baby, Lil Durk, Meek was made in FL Studio. For those who are new to this channel, I always try to do this before we get into the Deconstructed so you know what to expect in terms of accuracy purposes. For this one, I think we got pretty close, minus a couple sounds, 91.5, A-. I'll take that. Okay, and just a disclaimer, this beat might seem pretty simple, but it has a lot more intricacies and details than I expected at first. But anyway, let's get started. So the first instrument coming in here is a pan flute. For this, we're using Purity, the recorder and pan flute preset. It'll be playing these notes. So moving on to the drums, we have a clap snare coming in. This is just going to be playing where claps and snares normally play. In addition to that snare, you have an accompanying snare coming in, the 808 snare. Here's what those two together sound like. All right, next coming in, you have an open hat. Here are the notes. Onto the hi-hat. For this one, we're using one called Hi-Hat 1. You can find this in a BWB kit. Here's the pattern that plays throughout the entire beat. Okay, so far, so all the snares together with the open hat and the hi-hat sound like this. Lastly, for the 808, we are using a Vibe 809 kick. I think this one sounded pretty similar to it. I don't know if it's the exact one. And we're just gonna have to go through all the 808 patterns. Like, did you guys hear? There's 6 808 patterns, dude. Like, I'm not sure if Nick Papz in the room and just doing this live on an MPC, or maybe they just had so many good patterns. They're like, just throw them all in, dude. We'll see what happens. 6 808 patterns. We're just gonna go through them all real quick using the same 808. And for this 808, not a whole lot of effects to it, just added some sausage fattener and boosted some of the mid frequencies. Okay, pattern number 2. Okay, pattern number 3. Almost done. Pattern number 4. Pattern number 5. Last pattern. All right, and even though the 808 pattern switches, here's what all the drums together sound like without the melodies. Okay, on to the next part of the beat. All right, so for this section, you have the same flute playing with Purity. However, we have another melody coming in. For this, we're using a couple plugins. So it looks like a lot, but we just have the GMS plugin playing the Digichord preset, Serum playing the PD Arctic Wind preset, and another PD Arctic Wind plugin just to give it some more depth. But altogether, here are the notes for all of those. And not a whole lot of effects, just boosted some of the mid frequencies to really make some of them stick out. Right, also in this section, you have some tubular or church bells coming in. For this, we're using 2 sound fonts. One is the church bell. The next is the Metro Boomin tubular bell. Together, those two sound like this. So essentially the drums are the same, however, the accompanying snare switches up just a little bit. So before we're using the 808 snare to accompany the main snare. However, for this one, we are using a different one. We are using a clip snare. And together with the main snare, here's what that pattern sounds like. So going into this break section here, For this is the same thing, the flute and the other serum and GMS presets we used. In this section, there's no new melodies or drums. However, if you wanted to know the sound effect that's used, when Lil Durk's voice comes in, there is a 357 Magnum gunshot going off. All right, moving on to this section in the beat, there's a new two new instruments that come in. There's a new pattern with some pianos we got. For this piano pattern, we are using the Nexus Piano and Soft and Tiny preset. We are also using a Keyzone Classic Yamaha Grand Piano with some effects thrown on it. And for effects for this piano, we're using RC20 Retro Color, the Too Bright preset. And we are just taking away some of the lower and the higher frequencies and boosting some of the mid frequencies. Okay, so there's another instrument coming in here. For this, we are using Purity, a bell preset type thing. So for this, I use xylophone and a couple other presets you can find in Purity and just combine them. And altogether, the melodies sound like this. All right, and on to the outro. For this, same Purity preset for the flute. However, we have another bell type preset coming in using Purity, the xylophone, and a couple bells. And for the very last section of the beat, you have the piano as well as some of those other bells coming in. All right, I think that's it, you guys. I know this took a while because we had several 808 patterns, but appreciate you sticking with me till the end. Hopefully this was helpful. I know it's not 100% accurate, but hopefully you learned something from this. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Really appreciate it, trying to grow this channel, do a lot of these deconstructeds, and I have more coming for y'all. So appreciate it, and until then, I'll catch you in the next video.